Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
I'm Amir.
and welcome to the Mustard Cast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. And I want to reiterate the like and comment part. You should already be subscribed, but seriously, like and
If
comment.
you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button or we'll be at your house.
Liking and commenting lets YouTube know that people watch this video, and it will suggest it to more people. So please do those things. I don't care what your comment is. It could be something ridiculous. Just comment something. Okay, so of course, we're going to start with what media we're consuming. Amir, you can start off.
Hold up, in my mind right now, as I'm drawing, I'm envisioning Captain Morgan on like Captain Morgan rum bottles, and that's not what I'm going for. Sorry. Right now, I am. See, what am I consuming? I started watching True Detective season 1. I told you this. I think you know this, Deshaun, or Dijon. I really like horror. You know I really like horror, but my favorite kind of horror is the only type of horror that gets me like actually scared is called Lovecraftian horror, which was made famous by H.P. Lovecraft. He kind of invented the genre, but it's like there's a monster, but the monster isn't the bad guy. The monster are the humans, the emotions. The scary parts are like they feed on human emotions, human imagination, stuff like that. And True Detective season 1 isn't a horror, like Lovecraftian horror, but it's a very Lovecraftian show. And they also make a bunch of references to one of my favorite Lovecraftian characters who H.P. Lovecraft actually didn't create, which is Hastur the Yellow King. And it's just, oh my God, I love True Detective season 1. It's really good. I forgot to tell you this. I think you'll be at least intrigued by this. I started playing Immortals Phoenix Rising. I actually quite enjoy it.
Yeah, I have some things to talk about that because I actually watched, I forget what it was, but I was watching, maybe it was I think it might have been a review because for whatever reason, I was like, I wonder how Phoenix is doing, and I looked up a review. And it was not even the combat, I was just looking at it, and I was like, this game looks pretty. I feel like this might be a game I might like actually enjoy. I would never beat it, much like the Assassin's Creed games, but I would at least play it for a decent amount of time.
Oh yeah, I am working on. I want to beat this game, and I'm gonna try to beat this game. But I'm also not making that a promise to myself. The amount of Assassin's Creed games that I've beaten maybe 5 of them. I've played them all, and I've gotten very close to beating them all, but I've only beaten maybe 5 because Assassin's Creed games, especially the recent 3, like the new 3, the trilogy that has come out with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, those are like 60-hour games just on main story, plus like side quests out like there's so many side quests to do.
Yeah,
And so I've not beaten a single game out of the new trilogy. I know how they all end. I know the story for all of them. And I've gotten very close to beating all of them, but I have not beaten any of the new trilogy. And I want to. That's on my list. But it's just like that's way too much time and dedication to put into that.
that's me with literally any RPG, which those Assassin's Creed games are. So
yeah. What other media have I been consuming? I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty Warzone, which you knew I was playing Warzone. I've been playing that a lot with my friends. Oh my God, I have one sniper rifle almost at gold, and I never get my snipers to gold, and so I'm really happy about that. I want to get all of them to platinum, or not platinum, whatever the purple thing is. I think it might be, it's not platinum. I don't remember what the purple thing is, but yeah. Also, watching WandaVision. And I'm listening to a new audiobook. It's not new. It came out in like 2006, but it's new to me. Lies of Locke Lamora, which is the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series, and I really like it. It's really good. I'll tell you about it like off stream or something, or unless it comes up. But yeah, it's really good. I like it.
yeah. So wait, I wanted to say something about something you were talking about. What were you talking about before you mentioned the book? You talk about WandaVision.
WandaVision.
What was before WandaVision?
Before WandaVision?
I forget. I'll probably remember.
I don't remember.
So what I've been consuming, first thing, it was a documentary on DC's YouTube channel called The Heart of Batman, the story of Batman, the animated series. And it is really good. It was fun to watch. I forget how long it was, probably like an hour and a half, maybe shorter. And they basically just went through the history of not just the creation of the series, but a bit of the history of just kind of the topics and themes that are discussed in Batman that were never discussed in animated series before Batman. Batman was considered like a super violent and dark show in comparison to all of the cartoons that came out in the early 90s and definitely in the 80s. And all the people that worked on Batman the Animated Series were kind of bored and didn't really enjoy working on all of those super goofy cartoons that came out. Like
Right.
Bruce Timm originally worked on Tiny Toons. He was one of the first people.
We know about Bruce Timm. We know about Bruce
Yeah,
Timm.
the thing is, as much as we talk about him, like neither of us really, I don't hate him. He just has done
I
something.
don't hate him.
Yeah, he's
just strange.
But he's also responsible for the creation of this universe and the designs of almost all of the characters. And I just love Bruce Timm for everything he's done with that, other than the Batgirl stuff. Excluding that, Bruce Timm
almost every episode that he's had like actual creative control over, it's so. But I do like his character designs. I like his character designs. Those are cool.
He was a producer, and he was literally, it was him and one other person. I'm mad about forgetting his name, but they ran the show. They were the showrunners, so he had creative control over everything.
No, I mean like the episodes that he wrote and like directed and stuff like that. Those are the episodes that are like. Those are the weird ones.
Bruce Timm was a character designer and an animator. Bruce Timm was, I forget I'm mad that I remember, I'm forgetting all of these names except for Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, but one of the kid writers was basically saying that Bruce Timm and his, co-creator of the series were visual storytellers. They weren't writers. And this was like the first time they were ever producers. So they didn't really know what they were doing. So they built a great team of writers, other producers, and, animators, storyboard artists, and things like that. But when it came to the visual side, Bruce Timm, and let me look it up because he deserves his name to be said. And I can't believe that I'm forgetting his name. Hold up, give me a minute. Creator Eric Radomski. That is
never heard of that man in my life.
Yeah, despite never hearing of him, he was the co-creator of the show. He was co-producer, and he is the reason that he did most of the backgrounds. Most of the background paintings, he did those. And I forget who told him to do it because I don't think it was his idea originally, but it might have been. But basically, you know how they always say the animated series is drawn on black paper. The backgrounds are drawn on black paper because, for the most part, they usually do, the episodes take place at night. And rather than having to add a bunch of darkness and black to a painting, it's easier to bring the light out of the dark. So he did most of the backgrounds. So yeah, they are a big part of the visual storytelling and side of Batman the Animated Series. And yeah, that's dope. And the writers, of course, wanted it to be darker than any cartoon that existed at the time. So they put a lot of hard work into making sure that was the case. I'm gonna have to edit this part out real heavy. There was a bunch of me searching names and you stepping away.
I'm so sorry, bro.
Second, The Dragon Prince. I finished all the seasons that are on Netflix currently. They're planning on going, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's gonna be 5 more seasons. Every season so far has been 9 episodes, so the next 5 seasons are probably gonna be 9 episodes. It's dope. That show is pretty good. Have you seen The Dragon Prince? Because if you haven't,
I saw season 1.
You should finish it. It's pretty cool. I like the world that they built, and I'm interested to see where it goes from where it left off. Like I said before, the creators. This happens every podcast. I forget names, but one of them was the hit writer on Avatar: The Last Airbender. The other one was the director
Brian Kietz, whatever his name is.
No, that was one of the creators. I'm not even gonna try to think about it. Just he was hit writer Avatar, and his co-creator was director of Uncharted 3. Next, Ninja Assassin. Have you ever seen that movie?
I think the second one, whichever one was on Netflix.
Yeah, Ninja Assassin's on Netflix. I rewatched it recently. It's a real cheesy action flick, but I love it, and it's real violent. And I could see another movie, either a sequel or a remake, or even just another separate movie similar to it, being made. And it also gave me, no, I had the idea for a video game because of something else. And due to that, I wanted to watch Ninja Assassin to kind of gather some inspiration for how I think this video game should work. And essentially, in my mind, I want there to be a ninja game. You play as ninja, of course, and it's kind of like a Dark Souls ninja game, so where it would be an extremely difficult.
So Ninja Gaiden?
No, because Ninja Gaiden has no stealth whatsoever.
That's true.
This game would be primarily stealth, but once you get outside of stealth, the combat would be hard.
So Assassin's Creed Unity.
So, have I played Unity? I don't know if I played Unity.
Unity's combat is incredibly stupid. Not to like take away from that, but Unity's combat is incredibly stupid because I was replaying that recently. I stopped because I got so sick and tired of the combat. Arno's the delay between the time that you press a button while in combat and Arno actually doing the move, when you try to counter an enemy, doesn't work half the time. If there's more than like 3 enemies at you, you're gonna die. Like that's, yeah.
So essentially, I want it to be like, in terms of combat outside of stealth, to be as hard as Dark Souls, but
Okay.
also when you're in stealth, for it to still be difficult, but just a tad bit like easier because it's kind of forcing you to be like, you got to be a ninja, you got to be stealthy. This isn't going to be like all the ninja movies and games where the ninja is barely a ninja and he's mostly just fighting people just in front of everybody rather than actually sneaking around. And in Ninja Assassin, the ninjas in there almost seem like they just straight up turn into the shadows when they go into the shadow and hide. And I would want there to be something like that, not to where you're literally turning into the shadow, but it seems like you are. Kind of like in the original Thief games, when you were in the shadow, no one could see you. You were just completely invisible to everybody. That's kind of how I would want it to be. But yeah, not take too long on that. Because of that, I also finished Ninja Scroll, which is a anime movie that I watched like half of it but never finished it, and I went back,
Never even heard of it.
started from the beginning and finished it. It's a good movie. Has some dope action scenes. Like I said, it's another one of those things where they're barely ninjas, but there's definitely some stuff. There's one ninja that does what I just said and he literally turns into a shadow. But it's a good movie. It's on Hulu. What else? Was playing Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, one of my favorite hack and slash games. Ninja Gaiden 2, again, one of my favorite hack and slash games. One of the inspiration for me thinking of this ninja game. I started playing Resident Evil 3 Remake because the day of the Resident Evil 8 showcase, they had like a discount on Resident Evil games. So I already had Resident Evil 2. I finished it like in the middle of last year. And I decided I didn't want to get 3 at full price because it wasn't a game that should have been $60. But yeah, I got it.
Really short.
Yeah, I got it at like what was it? It was like 67% off, and it was like $20. So I grabbed that. It's fun though. Me having never played the original, I don't have anything to compare it to. So to me, it's just a fun game that shouldn't have cost as much as it did, and that's my only problem because I never played the original. But I can understand why people are mad that they cut out, a good chunk of the game. Been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Love that game so much. It does the thing that Breath of the Wild does, in the sense that there's always something interesting going on that you just randomly come up upon as you're riding your horse, and you end up interacting with it, and that's what makes that game so fun to explore. And also, it's just beautiful. I had to think in my mind which game looks more beautiful, despite how more diverse Ghost of Tsushima is. Like Red Dead Redemption, despite the fact that it's mostly just it's a swamp, there's a desert, and there's like grassland, it still looks almost just as beautiful as Ghost of Tsushima, and that's wild because Ghost of Tsushima is absolutely gorgeous. And I was saving the best for last, WandaVision, and something else that I'll get to after WandaVision. But I'm just gonna say I watched WandaVision because I think we should have a deeper discussion about the last 4 episodes of WandaVision, and then
only 4 episodes of WandaVision.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a deeper discussion about those. So before that, I'm gonna mention I finally saw Tenet, and it was good. It was a good movie. And it wasn't nearly as confusing as people made it out to be, but I feel like for people watching it in theaters, it was way more confusing because you could barely hear what anyone was saying. And there's no subtitles in theaters. So anybody could understand anything that was happening because they could barely hear anybody.
I want to agree a little bit and say that it was not that confusing. I don't even think it was that more confusing in theaters. I haven't seen it since it's been in home video, but it literally, I understood like 90% of it the first go around, and the only thing I missed, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but the character that reveals all, I missed that you know who I'm talking about, the character that reveals everything. I missed that it was him in the beginning of the movie, and that was the only thing that I didn't understand in the beginning of the movie. That was it. Other than that, I understood everything my first go around, and I'm like, I don't understand why everybody's saying it's so confusing. They don't understand it. It's not that hard to understand. Like
when I watched it, I was like, okay, it's when you understand what's happening, but then after you watch, you try to think a bit deeper about exactly how it's happening, like the physics behind it. You go, okay, now I'm a bit confused. Let me stop thinking about that. It's fiction, and it doesn't matter. It's fake.
When you stop thinking about the physics of it, you just think about the story. The story's not that confusing.
Yeah, it's kind of, I wouldn't say straightforward because that's literally the opposite of what it is, but it's understandable. But yeah, before we even get to WandaVision, there are two things I want to talk to. First, a bit of current events. There's this woman named Krystina Arielle who people were kind of mad at because of some things she said about racist people. And it was pretty.
Oh, is this the High Republic lady?
Yes, the host of Star Wars High Republic show in Star Wars was being harassed on social media for basically speaking out against racism, and we're probably gonna talk about this every episode. As Black men in America, stop it. When somebody speaks out, especially a Black woman specifically, about racism in the world, who are you to tell her she's wrong? Especially white people.
I was gonna say, you have no right to tell a Black person speaking out about racism that they're wrong about how they're feeling about racism. You have no right to do it
at all. And it's crazy. People tried to take her words out of context and make it seem like she
yes, because they kept saying that she said like all white people are racist or something. Like, that's literally not at all what she said, like at all.
And it's crazy because the moment any Black person gains a bit of popularity, there's going to be a racist person that tries to drag them back down. And that's
yeah, it happens every single time.
Luckily, there are just as many people on her side, if not more, than there are people against her on the internet. So that's always good that because the internet is so diverse, there are going to be a bunch of people who are like, no, y'all need to shut up because you sound stupid. That's horrible. The show's out.
I haven't seen it yet, and I love the High Republic, so I'm gonna need to watch it. I just haven't I haven't had the time to.
Yeah, I started to watch it yesterday because I had no idea where I could watch it. I was trying to find out going through her Twitter page, but I couldn't find out. But I finally found it. It's literally on the Star Wars YouTube channel. That's probably the first place I should have checked. But breaking news that I literally saw right before this was that there were set photos from Thor: Love and Thunder, and they showed Thor. That with the suit he's wearing his costume looks really cool. To describe it, I'm definitely going to put a picture up when I edit it. But to describe it, I've never heard of this comic, but people kept comparing it to.
Oh, Thunderstrike, Thor Thunderstrike.
Thunderstrike.
Yeah.
And there's a hint of his OG costume from the comics and his boots.
The boots. It's literally the OG boots. I freaked out when I saw those.
He has a red leather jacket over a white t-shirt with some like blue jeans, some super blue jeans, with his the black boots with the like yellow wraps around them, like from his original costume, and he's back in shape and he has long hair again, and it looks great. I love the way that costume looks. It really fits the character too, especially the version of the character within the MCU.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited. I think of all of the Marvel movies, this and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness are the ones I'm most excited for.
Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, and maybe Shang-Chi. Because, and you already know, like, I'm not a fan of the rumors, but you know Shang-Chi's, like, my third favorite comic book character. So, like, if the rumors aren't true, this may be my favorite comic book movie of all time, but I'm cautiously optimistic with that one. But yeah, I'm really excited for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, mostly because of was it Thor Ragnarok became one of my favorite Marvel movies. I've seen it so many times. I really like that movie. And this movie seems like it's definitely, Taika Waititi's directing it again. It's going to be along those same lines. It's going to be introducing Gore, Jane Foster as Thor, which she's dope as Thor. For all the people,
she's a pretty cool Thor in the comics.
Yeah, for all those people who always claim SJW, she's a great Thor, and even those people are probably going to see how cool she is. I have no doubt they'll probably do her justice. Yeah. So who else was I missing? What's his name? Horseface.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill. Is he going to be in this? He hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah, he hasn't been confirmed, but people are like, Beta Ray Bill might be in this. I mean,
he's got to be though, because like he was seen. His statue was in or his face was built in the statue in Grandmaster's palace.
Thor has to give him some here. He has to.
Right. So people have been asking for Beta Ray Bill for like years now, so they've got to add him.
Yeah, me and you talked about before in the podcast how maybe it was even off podcast about how Jane's gonna get a remade Mjolnir, and Beta Ray Bill is gonna get Stormbreaker, and Thor's probably just gonna go with his good old, because he figured like he doesn't need either of those things. He's literally the god of thunder. He could pick up any sword, any hammer, any axe, and he could still be just as powerful. Well, not just powerful. Those things do elevate his power, but he doesn't necessarily need them to be powerful.
The series that they're drawing inspiration from in this is Unworthy Thor. Yeah. In Unworthy Thor, he didn't have anything.
Nope.
In fact, I think that might have been the series where he lost an arm. I think he was basically walking around with a robotic arm, no shirt, and like a giant red cape, and just wandering the galaxy. And like that was a good series too. Like I really loved it.
He would just have like Smiths and Asgard just make any weapon and then like send it through the Rainbow Bridge, and he would just grab it and use whatever random weapon they gave him. It was cool. It seems like that's what they're drawing inspiration from. But sticking with Marvel, let's go to WandaVision. There's been 4 episodes so far. I want to start off by saying, if they didn't release those first 2 episodes at once, I feel like more people would have dropped off because those first 2 episodes were the most boring episodes. But the 3rd episode picked up fast, and then the 4th episode pretty much gave all the people that basically were impatient all of the things they needed to go, okay, the show is going to be what you think it is. You just have to be a bit patient with it. So, people used to seeing everything at once. So when things come out week by week, they get impatient because they literally just want everything to happen at once. They want them to get straight to the point and the action and to reveal all of the secrets. And it's like, bro, chill, calm down. The show.
Personally, I didn't even find the first 2 episodes boring. I thought they were like really not exciting, but like they were fun. Like I really liked what they were going for and stuff like that. And so like people are like, oh, this is boring. Like let it have its course. Let it run its course. Give it time. Like
the show was barely on, and people are like, it's boring. Like
it
started. Literally just started. If they didn't do 2 episodes at once, it would have been only 1 episode. And then we're like, how are you gonna say it's boring? The show just started. It was literally 1 episode, but this time it was 2. In my opinion, I think the first episode was completely unnecessary, and they should have just started with the 2nd episode and kind of combined the 1st and 2nd episode into one, because they basically felt, in my opinion, in terms of, I know it's supposed to be the 50s and then the 60s, I feel like the difference between the comedy in those 2 eras they were just so similar that there was no need for them to really give them 2 separate episodes. If anything, maybe put them together and make one longer episode, like a 45-minute episode instead of a 23-minute episode. I think that would have been fine as a premiere, especially since it's the 1st episode. Having it be longer than the other episodes, or at least longer than the middle episodes, because the last few episodes of the series are definitely going to be probably around an hour long. I think that would have been smart to basically combine the first 2 episodes into 1 episode rather than releasing them as 2 separate episodes at once. Because the first episode to me was, I would say I did find the first episode boring, but I did enjoy the 2nd episode because of the magic scene, and the magic scene entertained me a lot, and the very last scene, which we talked about it without spoiling it, but now we're gonna get into spoilers. So, spoiler alert: the last scene where she said no and rewound time, like, I think that second episode was a better jumping off point than the first episode was. And whenever I rewatch the show, I don't know if I'll watch the first episode. I'll probably start from the second episode.
I'll definitely start from the first one. I really like the first one because I love old sitcoms, like old 50s and 60s sitcoms, and that was definitely a very Mother Knows Best or Leave It to Beaver type sitcom. I don't know if you've seen either of those shows because they're both very old.
I don't know.
But that's very much so in the same vein of what they were doing with that one. I feel like the second episode was very I Love Lucy-ish, which I also love. I Love Lucy. That's a really good old sitcom. But I really liked the first episode because of the Dennis the Menace, Leave It to Beaver, like Mother Knows Best type things. I really like that.
So for me, I definitely not just because of how much more kind of hints as to what's going on happened in episode 3. Isn't I said that completely wrong. I'm confused. I confused myself trying to say that. I liked episode 3 more, not just because of it having more hints to what's going on, but also I feel like I definitely enjoy the 70s sitcom more than the 50s and 60s. And I've seen more 70s sitcoms than I have 50s and 60s, though I have seen some of them.
I definitely prefer 70s sitcoms, but yeah. I think 90s sitcoms are probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Cosby Show, Different World.
They're definitely most likely, it would be a waste that they didn't do Full House because her sisters were in Full House. So if they don't do Full House with her, plus with her having twin kids, it would be a waste that they don't do Full House with Elizabeth Olsen when her sisters, the Olsen twins, were in that show. But we're gonna let's just get a little into detail. I don't want to go too long because we have others to talk about, but the stork is 100% Mephisto. I feel like they give little hints at it over and over again, like with
Oh wait, no, it's not Mephisto.
I feel like
He's not the villain. I will die on this hill. I will straight up die on this hill. He's not the villain.
I feel like they're giving too many hints towards the devil in this show.
There's like 70 different versions of the devil in Marvel, and that's another thing I keep trying to get people.
There's only one version of the devil that is specifically tied to these kids being born.
But that's also very different context to that happening, though. And he also he also didn't have to do with them being born the first time they were born. He had to do with them being born the second time around after Wanda's reality got destroyed.
The entirety of the MCU is a completely different way of...
No, but that's what I'm saying. Tommy and Billy, the first time they were born, didn't have anything to do with Mephisto. It's after they died, after House of M, or not died, but like after they ceased to exist after House of M. That's when he brought them back. That's when he made Tommy and Billy whole real people again. Before that, he had nothing to do with that before. That was just all Wanda.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but in the comics when Spider-Man's identity was revealed, did he make a deal with Mephisto to fix that?
No, he made a deal with Mephisto because his identity got leaked. Aunt May got killed. Right. And he made a deal with Mephisto that he would, the Aunt May would get to be brought back to life,
right? If
he sacrificed his marriage to Mary Jane.
Right. So hear me out. I think that there are too many linking points to this potentially being Mephisto for it not to be Mephisto. And you're right. It could literally be any other devil, or not a devil at all, and it could just be Wanda. But I feel like one, it's already confirmed that Doctor Strange is going to be in the show eventually, and this is tying into Multiverse of Madness, as Spider-Man is also tying into Multiverse of Madness. And having Mephisto, who is a big part of the Spider-Man universe and a big part of Wanda and Vision's universe and Doctor Strange, and having
He's not a big part of Doctor Strange. That's what I want to bring up.
Then it wouldn't make sense for it not to there are too many connecting points for them not to do it. It's a little
I have a few theories.
Obvious.
I have a few theories. My first theory is that it's that Satana. Satana is a big Doctor Strange character. Mephisto is not that involved in Doctor Strange stuff. Satana is a love interest of Doctor Strange and a repeated recurring villain of Doctor Strange. She's also involved with quite a bit of Wanda's reality warping in the past. And I believe she may have been involved in a Spider-Man story, but I don't really know. I'd have to go back and see that. But that's my first theory. My second theory is that Wanda is doing this all on her own. Mephisto is involved, but he's not the villain. Mephisto's also not generally a villain. He's just more of a conceptual being. He's just a necessary evil. He's not like an acting like Thanos type character. Like, he's not a villain. So my theory is that because we see that Vision is still dead, so we know Vision is dead for a fact, my theory is that Mephisto made Wanda a deal that he gets to, Vision gets to live. She gets to live a happy life with Vision so long as neither of them leave their reality. And that's why Wanda is so insistent on nothing disrupting it. That's why Wanda is so insistent on him staying there. And we see that she is in complete control and she knows what she's doing. And we see that very clearly at the end of episode 4. She knows exactly what she's doing, what's going on.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I think he's in control of anything. I am of the side that she is in control of what's happening.
Oh, she's in control of everything.
I think that he's taking advantage of what she's doing. And like you said, behind the scenes is doing subtle things throughout the series. I don't think he's in full control of everything. I think Wanda has some semblance of control, but he is still there.
I don't even think that he's influencing much of anything aside from bringing back Vision, because my whole thing is he has no reason to. He has no motivation. There's no motivation behind.
As far as we know, he doesn't have any motivation.
But even if there's nothing that he would gain from it though. That's my whole thing. Like, there's absolutely nothing.
Anything could happen.
Maybe, I don't know. But also, and I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but there has been leaked footage of the 6th episode. No. Okay, I'm just saying my theory's sounding more and more plausible. That's all I'm saying.
But okay. So next, let's talk about some more future state. We're gonna start off with. I feel like there was something specific I want to talk about future state, but it's not popping up in my notes. But anyway, we're gonna start off with
issue 2 of Dark Detective.
What up?
Issue 2 of Future Batman.
Let's start off with Aquaman because I read issue 1 of Aquaman. It's really good. So before I even get into what happens in the comic, there was this what is it? DC posted something on their Instagram about Aquaman #1, and in the comments somebody said something along the lines of they look like they're making every character black or something like that. And then someone said, he said, y'all making everyone black. This is exactly what they said. And then this dude on IG, who is his IG's Farm G80 said, no, just looks like everyone won't be white any longer. And that is the perfect explanation of what this newfound inclusion of a bunch of different races in Future State is. It's like they aren't making every character black. They're just, every character isn't going to be white anymore because just like in the real world where we exist, not every single person that exists is white. That's just a matter of fact.
Right.
So it's not that everyone's turning black, it's that they're finally adding a proper amount of representation within the comics. And to you, that looks wrong because you're used to seeing everybody being white. But anyway, Aquaman #1 was dope. It takes place further back than Justice League. Well, most of these comics outside of Justice League takes place further back than Justice League. Because Andy is a teenager. And Jackson Hyde Calder is Aquaman. Arthur Curry went back to being King of Atlantis, and he made Jackson Aquaman. And he calls Andy Aqualad because he used to be Aqualad. And then she gets mad at him and just like, why don't you just call me Wonder Woman? And I'm Aquawoman. And he's just like, I don't care. I was Aqualad, so you're going to be Aqualad. That's how this dynamic works between Aquaman and his sidekicks. You're Aqualad until you're a grown woman. And essentially, there's like a 6-year time skip. I think it's 4. Where basically they get transported to this dimension that's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a spirit dimension of the ocean or something like that. And I don't think it's the blue. It's something similar to it though. And he basically gets split up from Andy, and it's been like 4 years, and he was like in prison, and he was basically so distraught that he essentially restrained his strength because he was like being held by chains that shouldn't be able to hold him. And then he realized, oh, wait a minute, I can break out of these. And then he just broke out and escaped because he realized that he thought she died, but she was alive. So he regained the strength to break out. And the art by Daniel Sapera and the coloring by Adriano Lucas looks phenomenal. And I feel like this Wonder Woman Justice League are my favorite ones so far. I like Jackson as just the character in general. I really like him. For anybody who doesn't know, he was created for Young Justice and then eventually became a character in the comics, much like how Harley Quinn was created for Batman the animated series and then became a character in the comics. He's a dope character. Watch Young Justice. Season 2 and 3 are a little weird, but
there hasn't been a good Young Justice. I stand by the fact there hasn't been a good Young Justice season since Young Justice season 1. Like
I don't think any of them are bad. They just aren't as good as the first season by any means. Hopefully the first season is better because me and you both talk about how they have the problem of introducing too many characters, and I feel like
my biggest problem with
Justice League Unlimited is much better, where they introduced a bunch of characters, but they managed to focus on certain characters while still having the original League members be present and be big parts of the stories, and then not feeling overwhelming, and how you don't get introduced to the other characters and they just are off in the background and you know nothing about them like they do in Young Justice all the time.
Yeah, my biggest problems with Young Justice come from, and you know this, we might have talked about this on pod, I don't remember. My biggest problems with Young Justice come from, again, and I have definitely mentioned this on pod, DC loves using Tim Drake era stuff, but hates using Tim Drake for anything. Literally everything about season 1 of Young Justice could have been almost exactly the same had they used Tim Drake era characters. Tim Drake in the comics, Tim Drake, Connor Kent, and Bart, Robin, Superboy, and Impulse were the 3 founders of Young Justice. They were the 3 that started Young Justice as an organization. For some reason, DC shies so heavily away from Tim Drake in almost every regard. They'll use his team, but not use him. They'll use his costume for the Under the Red Hood, or not Under the Red, whatever the new Red Hood movie, you know what I'm talking about, like the Choose Your Own Adventure Red Hood movie. They'll use his costume, won't use Tim. They'll use his characters, won't use Tim. They hate him. And I don't understand why they hate him so much, but they'll use everything else about him, except for him. Like, come on, DC. Like, what? It costs zero. Well, it does cost money to make stuff, but like, it would cost $0 to replace those characters in Young Justice season 1 with the actual Tim Drake era characters. Like, swap the Robin from Dick to Tim, and swap the Kid Flash from Wally to Bart, and you would basically have the original trio. Like, that's
for me. Not along those lines, but going back to Aquaman, I want an Aquaman game. I think an Aquaman video game.
They made an Aquaman game.
You know what I mean. I want
it was garbage.
A good Aquaman game. And for DC, we talked about this before, for DC to realize Batman isn't the only character you have, guys. You have a universe of characters to make stuff about. Make different video games. Please make different video games. You're making a Suicide Squad video game, but that's only because the team got popular because of that horrible movie. Okay? You need to make games about other characters. So moving on, we're going to talk about redemption arcs, TV and film. We're going to talk about redemption arcs. So I was on Twitter, and as I usually am, I'm always on Twitter. So there was this post by this person, their ad is "I'm close to caring," and they said that redemption arcs need to be less. It's never too late to do the right thing, and more, you're responsible for your actions, and being good is something that you have to choose and actively work towards, because the former treats doing one good act as the entirety of the redemption. That's the quote. So
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, the perfect example for this, them doing it right, in my opinion, is my favorite character in my favorite cartoon ever, Zuko, in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Zuko, after attempting to apologize for everything he did, the whole team goes, "Nah, you tried to kill us, son. Get out of our face." And he has to repeatedly take good actions to get in their good graces and have them accept him. And
He
even
really has to work at it.
yeah, and even then, Katara is like, "Nah, I don't care if y'all like him. Get this man out of my face." And it takes her a while before she actually goes, "You know what? You're cool." It literally takes him going out to go murder her, the person who killed her mother, for her to finally go, "You know what? You're cool." He doesn't just do one good thing and all of a sudden they're like, "You know what? Come join our side." He has to build up to it. He has to actually earn it. Like the person said, it's you're responsible for your actions, and being good isn't something that you choose. You have to actively work towards. He actively worked towards it, and he became a good character. Something someone else said below it is they need to be more. They also need to be more men take it upon themselves to personally / individually repent for all their atrocities and then hold themselves personally accountable for doing better and being better, and less redemption of a villain is responsibility of a woman, because that happens a lot. To where the story basically makes it to where when a dude who did something horrible to a woman, whether it's abusive, physically or emotionally, he tries to redeem himself, and to further that redemption, they have the woman basically like accept his apology and like bring that person back into their lives. I'm like, that you can still have that character redeem themselves, but the woman doesn't have to bring that person back into their lives. Like that dude can go off and try to grow and be a better person on his own, and that woman can still want nothing to do with him. And that needs to be a regular thing that happens. For example, I know you've probably heard of this show but never watched it, but the Rooster Teeth animated show RWBY.
I've seen quite a few episodes of it.
I wasn't aware of that. So there's a character named Adam, and there's a lot of problems surrounding him and the organization he is a part of in the show, in the sense that they kind of demonize fighting back against your oppressors, which is super weird. There's a whole video I watched about it that was like an hour long where they really went into detail about it, because I really do enjoy RWBY, but there are so many problems. It's like my love for RWBY is like people's love for the first Mortal Kombat movie. It's not the best, but it has a lot of really good things and characters that I enjoy, but it could definitely be much better. Essentially, he was emotionally abusive to one of the 4 main characters. And by no means am I justifying that. Like I just said, that's wrong. But rather than just getting rid of his character from the show like they did, and pretty much get rid of the only character that was fighting against racism in that universe, they should have gave him the type of redemption arc described above, where he actively works towards bettering himself, but the character he abused still could want to have absolutely nothing to do with him whatsoever. And he has to go find his own redemption on his own and become a better person, rather than relying on her to forgive him for him to try and make himself feel better. That's what I feel like they should have done with this character, rather than literally taking the only character that was fighting against racism and just getting rid of him. And that's one of the worst things about that show, where the writers aren't doing it purposely. Like they aren't doing it because of some type of underlying racism. They kind of just are bad writers. They're bad writers. They're bad writers, and essentially just whenever something isn't working in the story and they don't know how to make it work, they just get rid of it. Another example that you'll be able to speak on is Kylo Ren. His redemption arc was trash. It was horrible. There was no build up to it. It kind of just randomly happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, please don't ask me to sit here and try to defend his redemption arc, because that's not happening. That's not going to happen.
It was not good. In my opinion, I'm pretty sure everybody kind of wanted and saw, like, they could try to redeem him. I honestly like the idea of him being redeemed. I just hate the way they did it. It was,
for sure.
It was along the lines of, he did one good thing, and that was like the redemption thing. That's something that they do a lot in stories, the way the person like gives their lives to to like save a person or something like that, and that is considered his one good deed. And after that, he's considered a good person by everybody for the rest of that's the way his legend goes down forever, as a good person who sacrificed himself from everybody despite all the bad things he did. And I'm just like, no.
I like what they did with I like what happens with Vader is that Vader, despite the fact that he becomes good again in the end, he's demonized by the entire galaxy,
Exactly.
Leia included.
Exactly.
Everybody hates him but Luke. Luke is the only person that knows what really happened. He's the only person that actually sees Anakin as good in his eyes again.
That's what I like.
Everybody else hates Vader.
Like even if a character can do one good thing and die, and that's completely fine. But don't have people then go, and he was the greatest person ever. He wasn't. He was
Right.
horrible. He just did one good thing out of the many bad things he did. Kylo Ren, he could have been redeemed. He really could have. I feel like he he killed his father in the first movie, and that was that was something that would have been hard to redeem him from. But I feel like the fact that he didn't try to kill his mother, somebody else had to do it for him because he was just like, I don't want to kill my mom. And they, Rian Johnson tried to show him being redeemed in the Last Jedi, but not really. He kind of was just kind of coerce Rey into joining his side rather than him really kind of become a better person.
I saw a meme about it, and it was like Finn, and he was like Finn was like being all nice and like genuine to Rey, and then it was like Kylo Ren, he was like, "You're nothing. You come from nothing, but not to me." And then it was like Rey needs a lesson on how to choose men.
Yeah,
Like,
that's another big horrible part about Star Wars. I'm not to go on a tangent, but they really make her go after this physically and emotionally abusive dude, and eventually, for whatever reason, fall in love with him, rather than Finn, who in reality, I wouldn't have been mad if Finn and Poe were gay, but that's besides the point.
I wouldn't have been mad at that at all.
It seemed like
that's not. Finn and Poe wind up with nobody, and Rey winds up technically having nobody. Like it's weird. It's weird how that happened.
That would have been perfect for those characters. It felt like they were hinting at it heavily, but they were just like, nah, which is horrible. Which is a shame. There's a lot of like missed potential from that series. I feel like they could pull a Clone Wars and make like a sequel series that stars those three characters that kind of does right by them. Like have Finn, because in the that Lego holiday special, they actually show Finn doing like Jedi training, basically confirming, yes, he is Force sensitive. Like they 100% confirmed it. So if they made a sequel series with, Finn going and learning how to be a Jedi and Rey learning how to be a Jedi because she sucks at it, that would be good.
My only sad thing about that is I would love for like a high budget like Mandalorian level live action TV show sequel to the sequel trilogy. I would be fine with that.
100%.
My problem is
100%.
My problem is that John Boyega said he doesn't want anything else to do with Star Wars. And I was like,
here's the thing.
I love John Boyega. Like, he's one of my favorite actors. He's great. And I loved him in the sequels. But it's just like, I can't blame him for that.
Because he does like Star Wars. And I have no doubt he's watched all of The Mandalorian. I feel like that Jon Favreau and I hate that I forget names. What's the other dude's name? Cowboy Hat. What is
Dave
his
Filoni.
name? Dave Filoni. I feel like...
How'd you forget our Lord and Savior Dave Filoni?
How could I forget the Jesus Christ of Star Wars?
Right.
I feel like Dave Filoni, and if Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau talk to him personally, they could convince him to do it. I feel like he would have to hear it from their mouths specifically, and for them to promise to do right by his character. And I feel like he'd be like, I feel like he might be willing to do it if he knew that those specific people who tend to do right by those characters were working on it and were like the heads of that story.
The only thing that my only thing is he got a lot of hate from like Kylo Ren Rey shippers. Like he got a lot of hate from them for years, and he also got like a lot of racist comments and stuff. Like I would completely understand.
Oh, 100.
Like I would completely understand if he didn't want to do it, and like I could see him getting convinced to do it because of Dave and John. But like at the same time,
if he decided not to, I wouldn't be mad at him.
Yeah, I would completely understand that.
And in my opinion, if they were going to do a sequel, well, first off, I just don't do it if John's not going to be a part of it, in my opinion. If any of the original cast isn't going to be a part of it, I don't want you to do it unless it's animated. If it's animated, then you could have somebody voice them, and I wouldn't care. So that's why I'm more along the lines of I would love for them to do a live action version, but the best way to do it, I feel like, is for them to do it animated. That way, I wouldn't be mad if somebody else did his voice rather than someone else actually playing him live action. So yeah, that's a fun tangent. I'm glad we went on it. I actually had a thing about Harry Potter set up to talk about, but now that I mention it, we might as well go on another good old Harry Potter tangent. So
the classic. That's a classic staple on this channel. The Harry Potter tangents.
Only OG fans will understand Harry Potter tangents. So they're making a show for HBO, and I'm not gonna watch it, but
possibly it hasn't been confirmed.
Yeah,
it's in very early talks or something like that. So
until JK dies, I'm never going to watch anything with Harry Potter again. I'm not gonna play any of the video games. I'm not going to read any of the books. I'm done with it until she passes away, because then at that point she's dead. She can't get the money anymore. The money's going to go to her family, who I would hope doesn't share her views, or something along those lines. At that point, I'd be like, I would literally play every video game that I missed before she died, and watch every movie I didn't watch before she died. The moment, like literally the day she passes away. I know this is morbid and a bit messed up, but I don't care. The moment she passes, I'm talking about a minute, I'm immediately jumping up and watching the third Fantastic Beasts movie. I haven't even seen the second one, but I wanted to talk about the other 3 schools that we know about that we haven't seen in the films, but we're supposed.
Real quick, just because I'm gonna forget about this.
Right.
Ryan Coogler just announced that he's making a Wakanda television show on Disney Plus.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
So it'll be interesting. But I just had to let you know that because it just happened like today. So yeah. Yeah,
that sounds. I'm not mad at that. So supposedly, Castel Brucho is going to show up in the third Fantastic Beasts movie, which is the Wizarding School in Brazil. And we talked about this on that last tangent we had of how I want to see the other Wizarding schools, because there are 11 of them, but there are only 7 that we know of. And even then, there's a couple of the 7 ones that we know of I would love to see, for there to be like a show or a movie about them. Like the Japanese school is super interesting. I'm trying to see how to pronounce it. It is pronounced Mahutokoro. Mahutokoro. The school in Japan, it's like on an island off of Japan that people don't. It's like the Amazon. People don't know that it exists. It is like shrouded in invisibility magic, that type of stuff. And like the wizards wear robes that this is kind of messed up, but it shows like their grade. Imagine wearing a robe to where everybody knew what your grade was based on the color.
That'd be so messed up. Because I'd be walking around with a giant C- on my back every single day.
Yeah, it does it based on color. And if you do any type of forbidden magic, your cloak turns white. And that's how they know that you are like a criminal.
That's actually kind of cool. I would purposely do forbidden magic because like white costumes are like
it looks white.
The coolest thing ever. Like I would totally do that.
But and then there's one in Africa called Wagadu, and they don't use wands because wands were invented by Europeans, and it's like meant to enhance your magic. But in Africa, they just be out here twirling their fingers like. They don't
Avatar: The Last Airbender, just like do some arm movements, and
I don't want to go too deep
so
because the reason I didn't put it on the podcast was because there's a lot of other stuff I want to talk about, but I felt like I need to mention it a little bit because I do really like the universe that she created. I just don't like her, and I don't want to give her money.
Yeah.
So let's go to video games. Resident Evil 8 Showcase, there wasn't too much they showed for me to talk about, so I'll just say it releases May 7th this year. That's dope. I'm excited for it. I'm
streaming it. I'm so streaming it.
I wanted you to check this out before the podcast, but you were busy. But they had a state of play last week for Destruction All Stars, and I was really iffy on that game because it didn't really interest me. But after watching that state of play, that game is really cool, and I'm upset because I feel like it's not going to get much attention and nobody's really going to play it, and that's going to deter PlayStation from making more games like this. The reason I say that is because it's a PS5 exclusive, and this game does not do anything technically that justifies it only being on PS5. It very much could run on a PS4, and it makes me upset that it's not on PS5. I say that from what I only seen. For all I know, there could be something behind the scenes that makes it only on PS5. But from what I've seen, I'm like, this doesn't seem like something that wouldn't be able to run smoothly on a PS4 if you have good internet. It comes out tomorrow, actually, on PS Plus, and up until April, it'll be, on PS Plus with no additional cost if you have PS Plus. But after
that's for the 5, right?
Yeah, only for 5. But if you don't,
I keep forgetting 5 is a thing.
I'm gonna suggest that you just purchase it if you have PS Plus. But of course, you wouldn't be able to download it. But just purchase it so that when you do get a PS5, you don't have to pay what I'm about to say. And this is a dumb thing that I hate that PlayStation is doing. As you know, games are going from $60 to $70, and this will be. I thought this would be like $50 because that's what they usually do with these types of games. But it's actually $70 after April, which is crazy because I hate the fact that they increased the price $10 because that $10 means a lot to a lot of people. And I get it, inflation, but guess what? Inflation hasn't affected minimum wage. Minimum wage is still the same as it was 10 years ago, as it is today.
Come on, Biden, hurry it up.
I
need that minimum wage requirement.
This price increase would have been justified if minimum wage increased. But guess what? It didn't. Because if minimum wage increased, then $70 would just feel like $60. But it didn't. So $70 feels like $70.
Right.
Almost $30 shy of $100 for a game, bro. $60 felt better because you're hovering around 50. You're like, it's only half 100, and it's gonna be a game that lasts me for months of enjoyment. I love it. But 70, bro, 70. That's why I I subscribed to PS Plus just so that I could get this game, so that when I finally do get a PS5, I can play it. But yeah, it looks cool. I'm gonna describe why it looks cool because you obviously can't. Well, I guess I could edit in and show like the trailer, but that's a lot of work. I don't feel like doing that. But it's a vehicular combat game. If you ever have seen or played Twisted Metal, it's kind of like that. You like smash into each other, destroy each other's car. But it's kind of like Twisted Metal combined with Rocket League in the way the cars kind of look and move, and also
from the thumbnail, it looked very Rocket League-ish.
Yeah, you can get out of the car, and here's the cool part: the way the parkour system works with the characters is really cool in terms of animation and style. First off, if you've seen the thumbnail, it just looks really pretty and stylized.
Oh yeah.
And I love the art style of the game itself. I hope they release an art book or something because I would buy it in a heartbeat. It looks beautiful. And the parkour makes me want a game that has parkour like it, but in like an open world that's just as pretty and colorful. And essentially, when you're outside of your car, you can hop into other vehicles, or you can hop onto someone else's car and either destroy it or steal it. And much like a lot of games like this, you have like a hero ability that each character has, and there's a hero ability that you can do when you're on foot and one that you can do while you're in a vehicle. They essentially both do the exact same thing, but one's while you're in the car and one while you're on foot. This game looks really cool, and I was thinking of, what if they did this with the dope parkour and the vehicles, but in an open world, and you had better melee? Because there's melee in it, so that you can attack the people while they're outside of their car, but it's not an expansive melee system. So I'm imagining a better melee system, same cool cars, open world parkour. It would be cool, or a battle royale. So it's a bigger arena with a like city in between, so that you can jump on buildings, do parkour. You can get on the roads, drive your car, and just like every battle royale, your goal is to destroy it, kill everyone before you, so that you're standing. I think that would be cool. This game looks dope,
Let me watch this video real quick. Actually, hold on.
Yeah, I was gonna say not right now, bro. Come on, wait till afterwards, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Next, I want to talk about GTA 6. I've been playing, like I said, Red Dead Redemption. We talked about it before. I hate that they have been disrespecting Red Dead Redemption 2 so hard and not giving it any attention in terms of development ever since it released. Little bug fixes now and again and very tiny online updates, but barely anything. In comparison to GTA 5, which is 7 years old. I hate them so much because of that. But
They're
GTA 6,
milking that game for
yeah,
every cent.
GTA 6 is rumored to potentially have a female protagonist. As you can assume, a bunch of sexist people on Twitter went
I
wild.
was gonna say I can already tell where that's going.
So I got, once again, like I said, I'm on Twitter all the time. I got into a debate once again with someone on Twitter about stuff like this, like I always do. And essentially, this dude's excuse is that of why the character should be a woman is because the things that main protagonists in GTA do are activities that are predominantly male oriented. And I literally responded, bro, it's 2021. In what day and age do you think this game is going to take place in? This isn't Red Dead Redemption. This isn't going to be the early 1900s or the late 1800s. This is going to be 2020 something. Whichever year it comes out is probably the year it'll take place in. Like, bro, and even before then, do you think that women weren't murdering people and doing drugs before today? Women have been doing it just as long as men have. They just hasn't
right. It
been
just
doing it.
hasn't been publicized. Like
Yeah,
hasn't been capitalized on.
they haven't been doing it as publicly, and not as many women have been doing it as men. You're right. It is predominantly male, but it's not exclusively male. Women do all of the. I don't know what's wrong with people. Would they think that women are? I'm going to use the term female in the sense of video games specifically because sometimes the characters are aliens. How females in video games have to be vastly different from men, like they're a different species. Like it's weird. Women are also humans, and they also do a lot of the same things that men do. So
99% of the stuff that men do or think about or talk about, women do the same. Like it's just I don't understand why people think it's so different. Like men and women really aren't that different aside from a few biological components.
Exactly. And, as anybody who's learned a science class, and the, reality is that women are the blueprint for men. Like they are like essentially the true humans because we have more of them in us than they do us in them. So, they also said that, you know what, they should just make it to where there should be a gender option at the beginning of the game. And I was like, oh, so now because the main character is a woman, you should have the option.
Now you want a gender
but
option.
Before when the last 5+ games had men as main characters, you didn't even think about the idea of there being an option for you to choose a woman, did you? Now all of a sudden, the main character is a woman. Now we need options. Like, bro, no, we don't. And also, I was thinking it would be hilarious because I was playing Red Dead 2 and replaying Red Dead 2, and I was just thinking about how there's one character named Sadie Adler, she's a cowboy like the rest of the characters, a cowboy woman, and spoiler alert, I guess she doesn't die. She survives throughout the entirety of the game. That is kind of a spoiler. I don't think there's ever a point where they make it seem like she dies, so it's not really going to come to a surprise for anybody who hasn't played a game that she makes it. And they basically leave it with the potential of she could potentially be the main character of the third Red Dead Redemption game. And I wouldn't be mad at it because she is a dope character. She's one of my favorite characters in that game. And it would be hilarious. And I would just laugh in the face of all these sexist dudes.
It's not going to be hilarious. It's going to be annoying. I'm going to have to sit here and either respond to or look at all these comments. I'm just like, just
I'm going to bask in their anger. The next GTA, the main character and only character, or maybe even they pull a GTA 5 and have 3 playable women, are the main characters of GTA 6. And then Red Dead Redemption 3 comes out and the main character is also a woman. Oh, they would be heated. They would be.
Yeah, that's going to be weeks and weeks. And oh my God, that's.
Weeks, you mean years.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't. No, I mean, like, they'll the talk will die down after a
Yeah,
few weeks, but
definitely.
it'll still be present for a few years, but it'll die down. Is what I mean. It was like
So
I'll have to deal with that for months. Oh my god.
continuing on video games,
Oh my god.
I want to talk some more about Cyberpunk 2077 and some information I found out.
I forgot that game existed. I'm
I
not even gonna lie.
very long what are those things called? Article. I don't know why I forgot what an article was called. So it turns out Cyberpunk didn't start development 8 years ago like you thought. It started development 4 years ago, 4 years after they announced it. Not only that, but apparently they were making the engine for the game as they were making the game. And one of the employees said that it was essentially the equivalent of trying to drive a train while the tracks are being laid out in front of you at the same time, which is
Yeah.
insane. And basically a bunch of anonymous, I don't know why I said it like that, anonymous developers at CD Projekt Red said that despite leadership saying that crunch wouldn't be necessary, they felt pressure to work longer hours and essentially confirming that they had been crunching far longer than it was announced. They had essentially been crunching the entirety of the development process. And management essentially refused to delay it until eventually they had to. And they also gave them unrealistic timeframes and goals and were basically just high on the height of The Witcher 3, which was, until recently, the most awarded game ever, only just recently beat out by The Last of Us Part 2. It was literally the most awarded game of all time. No game had got as many awards as The Witcher 3 did. And off of that high, they felt like the developers could do more than they actually could. And because of that, the game suffered, and the game is what it is today. And it's no surprise that they were being greedy when they decided to release Cyberpunk on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They just wanted a higher number of players playing the game. So they released the game on a console that they knew it wouldn't work on. And like the developer said, hey, this isn't going to work on this. They were like, I don't care, release it there anyway. Not only that, but they didn't even, during the development process, which was super rushed, they never played the game on Xbox One or PS4. They only played it on PC because they didn't have time to test it on PS4 and Xbox One. So I always say, first off, don't bully anyone online, especially telling people to kill themselves and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's so stupid. I never show you do that.
Criticism and bullying are two completely different things. So I would say the people you should be criticizing, not bullying, are the management, the people above the developers, the people above the people actually sitting out in front of their computers, making 3D models and animating and things like that, and coding and programming. The people above them are the ones that were pushing them to do the impossible. Do something that was literally impossible, and because of that, they suffered. And I just imagine if they gave them however long it would have took for them to make the engine before actually working on the game. Imagine if they did that and then also gave them time to actually work on the game. The game would be perfect from day one, or near perfect. Nothing's perfect. But it would have been great day one. There would have been no controversy. There would have been no problems. And this is a problem in the game industry in general. People like to set unrealistic standards and to push their employees far too hard. And people make it seem like if you're not working hard, you're not working at all. And it's like, bro, working hard, it's like, compared to working out. To build muscle, you have to destroy it and then rest and let it rebuild itself. It's the same thing with any other type of work. You work hard, you get tired, and then you rest. You let it rebuild. You let your muscles rebuild. You let them come back stronger the next day so you can work out again and continue to do that until you're at your peak. You don't work out and destroy those muscles until they don't work anymore. That's not how that works. And that's essentially what a lot of people do in the game industry, and it sucks. And man, it's already going to be tough for me to get into the industry in general, but just having to potentially go through that sounds, I don't know, man. That's why I'm glad I'm going to join the industry in a generation where we are aware of these problems and are trying to make a difference. And also, me and you might just end up making our own thing because
Yes.
eventually,
Pirate game. I want it. Like I need my own studio. That's what's happening.
I think I'm probably about to start doing some clay sculpting to kind of get some practice when it comes to sculpting. I was literally, when I was waiting for you when you went to go get your food, I was watching a video of somebody sculpting a statue of Miles in his his suit from the very beginning of the game with the puffer jacket and Adidas. Yeah, and I was watching that, and I watch people do sculpts like that all the time. It's fun.
Oh, definitely send me that.
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
Definitely send me that.
So let's see. Cyberpunk. I felt like there was something else I wanted to talk about. Here it is, animation. So I want to talk about 3D animation and 2D cartoons, or specifically 3D animated anime. But I'm not just going to talk about Japanese cartoons. I'm going to talk about some American cartoons as well. That's why I didn't want to specifically say anime. So this is going to start with Attack on Titan Season 4. I'm sure you heard the controversy. People are mad about the CG models and Attack on Titan Season 4, which they only do them for the Titans specifically. And they only do it for, there are a couple of Titans where, I'm just going to say this for anybody who watches Attack on Titans, and any character, any Titan you see that isn't 3D animated means that character is not going to show up very much in the show. I just wanted to say that, even that I don't know if that's kind of a spoiler for you guys, but the Colossal Titan the Colossal Titan who's notoriously 3D animated every time he showed up in the first 3 seasons is the only character in the last season that isn't a 3D model, because he very rarely transforms, because if he does, he literally nukes an entire town. So naturally, he doesn't want to transform in the middle of the city that he lives in. So essentially, like I said, Titans are the only thing they're CGI. And for the most part, when they're sitting completely still, you can't tell. So you're just like, oh, that's 2D. But once the camera moves and the lighting on the CG model interacts with it in a way that you don't see on a 2D drawing, and when it moves, sometimes they move a little bit faster than 12 frames per second, which is the way the amount of frames 2D animation usually has. Sometimes the 3D models move faster than that, and that's what makes it noticeable. But for the most part, the studio, MAPPA, is doing a really good job mixing 3D and 2D, and there's a weird thing about it is that they are also animating the show called Jujutsu Kaisen, which is being praised for its phenomenal 2D animation. But some of you guys are probably wondering, well, why does Attack on Titan have 3D animation in it if they're really good at 2D animation, as shown with Jujutsu Kaisen? Well, one, they were likely working on them at the same time, and they have a really large studio. Their studio actually grew exponentially within the past few years. And because of that, more people, they have more people to put on different projects. Secondly, they had far less time to work on Attack on Titan than they did Jujutsu Kaisen. With that time constraint, the fastest way they knew how to work was, if you make a 3D model, you don't have to draw it over and over again. You make the model once and you reuse it. And
just move it around.
That's much faster and efficient than redrawing it over and over again. So don't blame them. Blame whoever put that time constraint on them. And despite the time constraint, it still looks amazing. So if they had more time, it would look even better. They're also going to be animating this manga that I mentioned before that you think is ridiculous, Chainsaw Man.
Oh, God, Chainsaw Man.
And I want you to watch it when it comes out. It's phenomenal. It's probably going to be a few years from now. But Chainsaw Man anime, it's happening. Chainsaw Man is great.
So stupid.
It's ridiculous, but I love it. They also make an anime called Dorohedoro, which came out on Netflix, which is completely 3D animated. But it actually looks really good. And I want to talk about why some 3D animated things look good while others don't. But the best example of one that looks really, really good is Beastars by Studio Orange, that is also on Netflix. The first season. Second season's coming out it's currently airing in Japan, but it won't be out on Netflix until July, which is trash. And I can't find anywhere to watch like a subbed version of it, and that sucks. And the crazy thing is, they actually completely changed the art style from the way that it looks in a manga. But despite that, it still looks great. And sometimes your mind doesn't even recognize that it's 3D. Because Studio Orange is probably the best studio when it comes to making 3D anime and having them look 2D. And taking advantage of the things that 3D can do in comparison to 2D, which is it allows for camera movements that you sometimes will see in 2D, but very rarely because it requires some very advanced animating, and it's hard to do. Another, Western example is the Dragon Prince. Despite it being 3D, your mind doesn't even think about the fact that it's 3D. Because
my mind thought about the fact that it was 3D. I'm not gonna lie, that was like all I thought about the entire time I was watching.
But for me, the reason these things use 3D animation is because they have unique art styles. Which what I meant, Dorohedoro, Beastars, Dragon Prince. They all are so different from most of their 2D counterparts that when you do them in 3D, it doesn't look off. Unlike with most anime, which the characters, they have spiky hair, big eyes, and just like a couple lines to represent the nose or the mouth. And even though the art styles are different, they are still kind of uniform. You know what I mean? How when somebody draws something in an anime style, you recognize it as being inspired by anime or potentially being something that will become an anime. And because of that uniformity, whenever you see that style in 3D, you recognize something off about it because you're used to seeing it in 2D. Your mind is just like, ew, this looks weird. I'm used to seeing this in 2D. For me, I believe that technology will eventually get to the point where a 3D animation that's meant to mimic 2D will be indistinguishable. You won't be able to tell the difference. Like eventually, I think they'll be able to make 3D models that look and move just like 2D animation, and you will not notice. And unless somebody tells you, and even then you probably still won't notice, because that's just how technology works. It evolves, and eventually that'll happen. Video games, surprisingly enough, video games actually do it better than anime. There's a game, Studio Arc System Works. They make a game called Guilty Gear, but they also made Dragon Ball FighterZ, and they before they did 3D, all of the Guilty Gear games were 2D sprites. So when they made the shift to 3D, they still wanted the characters to look 2D, like they were hand-drawn. And they succeed at that even better than Beastars. Sometimes you can't even tell it's 3D until the camera, which, it's a 2D fighter, so the camera very rarely goes around them. But when they do like their special move or something like that, the camera goes around them, and that is the only time you notice that it's 3D. But yeah.
Okay.
I have one last thing to talk about before we move on. The untapped potential. The new segment we added at the end. And a few weeks ago, I was talking to a friend about Korra and Avatar, and how they could have done the whole Avatar Wan backstory a bit better. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's just a little small change that we made that it's small in a sense. But the reality of the fact is that we just completely go, Rava and Vatu does not exist. And that he doesn't, his body can handle having all four of the powers without the need of Rava. And the reason he eventually gets all four of the bending powers is because, as is shown at the beginning of the Avatar Wan arc, he tries to make peace between humans and spirits, and he manages to befriend both humans and spirits. And that's a good representation of what the Avatar is supposed to be. And that's where the story started as. And then it divulged into just light versus dark, which was weird when it started off so complex for it to just go super basic around the end of the story. But instead, they should have kept that more complex, trying to make the humans and spirits understand each other. And the Lion Turtles seeing this it would not be a stretch to say that they somehow, through their omnipotent powers, could see him doing all of these things to try to make them the spirits and humans, live cohesively. And they go, you know what, we're going to give you all of these powers so that you have the power to try and keep this order and balance. And that's how he becomes Avatar. Rather than there's this dark spirit and this light spirit, he gets the power of the light spirit. And somehow completely destroying darkness and only having light equals balance, despite the fact that's not how that works. That's basically the idea we came up to. And also, we come up with an idea of how to potentially, maybe, fix one of the biggest mistakes Korra made, which was getting rid of the past lives in Korra's, memory. And potentially having the third Avatar. Well, technically the third Avatar in the series, the Avatar after Korra, go to the spirit world in an attempt to reconnect to their past lives.
Okay.
Because I always forget where it was said, but along the lines that the spirits weren't destroyed, they still exist out there. She just no longer has a connection to them. So maybe the Avatar after her, for whatever reason, tries to go to the spirit world and regain that connection with those past lives. It would be a way to fix, in my opinion, the biggest mistake that happened in Legend of Korra, while also creating a cool, interesting journey throughout the spirit world, which we've explored the spirit world more in Korra than we did in The Last Airbender, but we still didn't spend an extended period of time within the spirit world. So yeah, that's the last thing.
There's still a lot they could do with the spirit world that I'd be interested in seeing.
Yeah, that's last thing I wanted to say. I don't know. It was me and my friend Craig.
I know Craig.
Which Craig? I'm talking about the white Craig. You know Craig?
Oh yeah, no, I know White Craig. I miss White Craig.
Yeah, I told
Yo,
Craig.
I miss White Craig, man. He was so fun.
I don't know. I need to hang
I
out.
haven't seen him in like 2 years.
Yeah, so no, that's the end of the podcast. I always slap my knee when I say that. I go, that's the end of the podcast. And every time we get to the outro, I forget how the outro works. You can follow me, Dijon Mustard, at Dijon_Mustard_432 on Instagram, and Dijon Mustard. Dijon_432 on Twitter. It'll be up on the screen. You can follow Amir at T.
Back in the hand.
And _Amir is back under the hand this time. Last time it wasn't. On Instagram. And you can follow us, the podcast itself, on Instagram at D_Mustard_cast, and then on Twitter at D_MustardCast. Each letter, first letter of the words, capitalized. This has been the 10th episode. Nope, 11th. I was almost wrong. The 11th episode of Mustcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir, and we completely forgot the pirate game.
We did. We'll talk about that next time. Peace.